have come to accept that I am not watching the same program that the judges are watching, and I am trying very hard to make peace with that, because every week of Drag Race Latina Royale, I find myself disagreeing with the judges, wondering what it is that they're perceiving that I was not privy to watching. And I've seen multiple comments from a lot of y'all saying that you're looking forward to watching Down Under more than you are Latina Royale. Yo. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and I have not felt Fergalicious once this year. Not once. Every week on Drag Race Mexico Latina Royale, I find myself questioning my sanity. I have reviewed just about every season of Drag Race that the Globe has offered, except for like 10, but that gap is very quickly going to be closing in the next year. And Latina Royale confuses me more than just about every season that I have watched, because it seems consistently like Lolita and Tyga just don't know what the outcome is that they want to have happen. Typically on the Ru Judge Drag Race seasons, I can tell what the producers want to do. On a lot of the European seasons, I can tell what the host wants to have happen. In Canada's Drag Race, the writing is usually pretty clear on the wall, just based on how the contestants are playing, because that's a much more competitive game in my opinion. And there are iterations across the globe of different hosts that have different styles, but Lolita and Tyga seem to be the most dictated by what production wants, and that they have the least amount of agency as to what's gonna happen on the ground day to day. And from what I've heard about the South American in particular production teams, it does seem like they are more production led, and the host is just a mouthpiece for whatever the man behind the curtain wants. And that's why it confuses me, because it seems like Tyga and Lolita are not reading the same Google Calendar that the production team is reading. Since week 1, Mariana Stars has landed in the bottom 2, and yet she's the one that Lolita and Tyga decided to save with their only double save lottery card. Yo! And it doesn't make any damn sense. Am I mad? Absolutely not. I think that Mariana Stars has been critically overlooked and has been used as a punching bag every single week. But I don't understand why they saved her. I just don't get it. The spirit of delusion hit the workroom this week with some of the queens, while others like Matraka are questioning the fairness of the competition. And honestly, me too, girl. Me too. And after a fairly tepid reading challenge, the queens are tasked with creating fashion out of unconventional materials. Typically in the sewing and design challenges, the queens are given a specific lane to drive on for whatever they're trying to make. It's a reconstruction challenge. You're trying to make something avant-garde, something couture, something that is ready for the main stage. As loose of a concept as that is, but a concept nonetheless. Whereas in Latina Royale, the queens are given these unconventional materials and they're told to create fashion. Well, that can be interpreted a lot of different ways. I'll explain this later in another Queen's look, but for me, when I define fashion, means that it's wearable. And in fashion terms, that means something that is a bit more day-to-day. Maybe it's a little more accessible and practical rather than something that is really high concept. For a solid example, moving to last week's runway, what Tsunami wore was very fashionable. The average person could absolutely wear that, but it could still be made into a drag look, where Matraka's look was not fashionable. That was very avant-garde. And I think that lack of theme didn't really help anybody in this challenge, because I think a lot of them didn't really know where to go with their looks. We saw a wide variety of concepts on this runway. And my only note from the reading challenge, because I didn't find it particularly captivating, was the gall, the gumption, and the nerve of Mariana Stars to read the dog out of Tyga's wonky hairline lace, which I did not notice until it was pointed out, and then that's all I could look at, because there was a part where the beauty filter was not clocked in for work and you could see those fine little pieces of lace. I think it takes crazy big balls to read the host who keeps putting you in the bottom in front of their face, in front of cameras, in front of the entire room and production team, knowing that they're probably gonna put you in the bottom again. Mariana was probably trying to get out a little bit of frustration, and I think she did that well, but goddamn. I would not try to read one of the primary hosts who's been complicit in trying to get me to go home all season. And Eva gagged me a little bit with her visa joke to Tsunami. I did think it was a little bit of a low blow considering all of the political turmoil that's happening in the States, but it was fierce nonetheless. Eva wins the reading mini challenge and gains an entire spectacular, never before done before, 3 seconds extra to source materials for the challenge. Whoa, what am I gonna do with 3 whole seconds? Maybe next time you could just take this fist and dry shove it right up my ass. An unrelated note before we talk about the runway, shout out to this production team allowing Lolita to acknowledge Canada versus the world after All Stars 11 spent several episodes trying to fake moon landing, deny that Canada versus the world even happened. So let's get into my runway rankings this week. I went back to classic 1 to 9 because there weren't a lot of parameters to judge on. They were just told, make it fashion, so. And the only thing that is exhausting me more than the constant protection of Regina Voce not being in the bottom week after week is this crazy, terrible camera quality. And whoever is responsible for this horrendous blowing out of the oversaturation to overcompensate for whatever awful high exposure was put on the cameras is gonna get a strongly worded letter from my office. So let's get into my rankings. In my 9th position is Eva Blunt. Hey, can I get that reggae? I just love that reggae, girl. Just that, love that reggae music. All of the glamour and all of the fame. Anyone know that reference? Did anyone watch season 3? This bitch loves to appropriate and I cannot with her. First off, her talent show and now this. Maybe she has a different relationship with the word appropriation than I do. Is anyone else thinking this or am I the only one? I feel alone. That being said, this is a corset with ribbons glued onto it. I mean, girl, she had the nerve to suggest that because she used a couple different colors and textures that she should not have been in the bottom and should have gained a higher placement? Girly! We have a painted loofah that's been torn apart and tied together on the hip, some uneven lines of color in somewhat matching color patterns. You can see that there's opposites going in towards the middle, but then we get into those middle 8 lines and they dart unevenly towards her left tit. The crisscross on the neck is super interesting and I like the ruffle pieces on the chest. So if you were to crop this right at the nipples and say, this is the look, I would probably say, yeah, that's cute. But then, because I have eyeballs and I can see everything below that, it all just turns into nothing fashionable from those nips down. So chop. This was absolutely bottom 2. In my 8th position is Regina Voce, Queen of the Universe. I have to get something off my chest and I have to air out a grievance here. Anytime a queen says that they want to give Miranda Priestley on the runway, I know that we are gonna get the most basic white wig. They're gonna have a scowl face along the runway. They're gonna point severely at someone, and that's it. They're gonna call it a day and go, oh, I can't. I'm Miranda Priestley. Miranda would never be caught dead wearing lilac gingham and her lower boob area showing. This is not Miranda Priestley. A white wig, a Miranda Priestley look it does not make. I don't think this is badly sewn at all, but there's literally no design element to it, and that does factor into my ranking here. The ruffles have practically no connection to the floral boob. There's a cool pencil skirt, and I assume that's to age this up and make it look a little more mature, but that does not connect all the way to the top of the garment. There's a huge cutout right here. And then what does that have to do with the ruffle, which is very youthful and quite young? You know what this is? This is the lady version of this exact douchebag tank top. The one where it's just like got a cut all down here and this doesn't need to be all exposed, but here we are. It's like businesswoman, but make it hoe. But I don't really get anything fashionable about this. And I also just don't think it's particularly interesting. Like I stared at this for so long, trying to come up with words on what I wanted to say about it. And it was just like, in the words of Kesha, blah, blah, blah. Chop. In my 7th position is Abby. Oh my God. She was first out in the most design challenge look possible, because I swear we see this every single design challenge. This exact silhouette. And I'm taking it all in because I truly have so little to say about it. It's like skirt, check. Bra, check. She made some clothes, she put them on. And even if I think they're fairly well crafted, which they are, we've seen this fan effect bra situation on a multitude of queens in the Drag Race Runiverse. An asymmetrical skirt is nothing super new, and it's not necessarily a wow moment after almost 80 seasons of this show. I think the application of those leaf shapes going down the skirt are really interesting. And if she had some time, I think some stones would have made those look just a bit more effective. They would have added a bit more depth to it. The most interesting design element to me is the incorporation of those spoons. And I would have loved to have seen what an entire garment would have looked like with the spoons added to it. And those had some really fun movement on them until they started shedding like snake skin. Diva down. But then as soon as they fell, I was like, ooh, pretty shoes. This look clocked in, but it didn't work. It's not a chop, it's not a slay. It's here. In my 6th position is Matraca. Do y'all remember when they called her Matraca Traca in season 1? And about midway through the season, Valentina was like, do you even go by that anymore? Nobody calls you that. You don't go by that? We've been calling you Matraca Traca this whole time and that's not even your name. Y'all, I'm kind of struggling with this one. She said her concept was a futuristic waitress. And I definitely think that there are a few kitchen safety issues that are happening here, specifically with the entire inner thigh being exposed. That's gonna be a real problem with OSHA. Can tell you right now. To me, the look is giving a lot of really cool surrealism. It's almost a bit Salvador Dali to me because those tartan pieces look like they're melting, and I think there's something cool about that. There's some solid design elements here that make this interesting and conceptual, but I'm not necessarily getting a look that's fashionable because again, that word to me means something that's wearable. It means something that's accessible. And this to me is very avant-garde. It's dabbling in the universe of wearable arts, but a dabble is not definitively wearable. I also just don't know if I love the way those pieces are hooked together. They're a little awkward. The length is bizarre. It's kind of a safe slay because I like what it wants to be. Just needed a little more fine tuning and that probably would have come with an extra day of time. Based on what all of them said that they barely slept, I know it's a lot of money on the line in a title, but I just don't feel like anything is worth not getting sleep. In my 5th position is Alexis Mateo, who was top 3. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this look. It's giving pageant perfection. I love how adorned this was. Those small details of the gold, that pipe, that cool ruffle is absolutely a knockout. I think you really only notice those in the close-up shots because the camera quality is so dog. That's not her fault at all. The ruffle trim on both sides make this look incredibly show-stopping. I think it's very well done considering the time constraint they had. I was extremely entertained by her mentioning Chinese New Year as an inspiration, and the judges were like, this is so Latina. God, no wonder Ava was culturally appropriating last week. Steve, cut that. To me, it looks like she painted a lot of the elements so it would match that gold theme, and you can tell that Alexis is a pro, that she knows her body, she knows how to dress herself, she knows how to follow her branding, which is pageant, it is high glam, it is high fashion. This is a slay. I personally just don't know if this was top 3 to me. It was very good though. In my 4th position is Mariana Stars. Crack smoking judges, chat. Crack smoking. This is super cute. It's giving me disco. It's giving me superhero realness. It is very fashionable. It is very accessible. I could see anybody being able to wear something like this. She created a lot of really interesting pieces, and I think the amount that she fabricated is worth giving high marks to because there's a lot going on here, but it all works. She's got some interesting puff half sleeves. The design of those is whimsical and very fun, especially one like that. The bodice is stoned for filth and it gives a lot of interest. I'm always excited when queens are able to utilize their time to add some stoning to a look. Pants are extremely difficult to construct. I know I've made, I think, 2 pairs in my life. One was awful, the other one was fine. And I think she did a great job at making these. My only note is that I don't like the shoes very much. And I do think that the pants needed a quick little steam before they hit the runway because those were kind of wrinkled. I'm gonna chalk that up to the amount of time they had and not being able to pay attention to those fine details, but otherwise, this is it. This is gorgeous. I love her material choice. I love the way that she created it. This is a solid slay. The judges, I don't even know why they put this in the bottom. They hate to see Mariana come in. They're like, Mariana Stars is here. Boo! In my 3rd position is Tsunami Muse, who was top 2 this week. I think she was actually very solid. She made some really smart choices with her fabrication and her material sourcing, much like I think Mariana did. I love these colors. She looks like a candy queen on a board game, but not necessarily Candyland. Like something that is non-copyright to avoid the litigation. But there's something very cute, pepperminty about this. It looks like cotton candy blend. It's fun. I think there's a fabulous blend of practical, ready to wear, which is very, I think Tsunami's brand is ready to wear fashion, meets this heightened red carpet kind of a moment. I think the shapes are super cool, and the fact that she made this out of bags is very impressive because there's a lot of movement to it as it goes down the runway. There's rhythm to it, and that is something else I think about Tsunami. I think about musicality, and she was able to bring that into her garment, which is great branding. I'm a big fan of high-low skirts, so it's checking all those boxes for me that I always find interesting. She did an excellent job. This is a very solid slay. And I think on a fashion level, if it's just fashion wearability, yeah, this is top 2. But I was really blown away by my second position, which is Horacio Potasio. She was confused by her safe placement, and honestly, so was I. This is next level Gorgina. I don't know what to tell you. I have so many positive things to say about this look. First off, it is a complete garment from neckline to floor, and we saw a crap ton of separates. I don't have any problem with separates. I think it's actually quite impressive to be able to make those, but when you see so many of them on the runway, I crave a little bit of variety, and that's what she gave to me. And the fit on this is immaculate. She had some great color choices, and I think she did a marvelous job at highlighting that gorgeous pink color by utilizing the gold at the top and then at the bottom, and then a very subtle incorporation going right up that ruche in the middle. So it makes that pink the primary focal point of the garment, and I think that was very smart. There was some great usage of the material, and I think she was one of the best looking of the night. The flower sprouting at the neckline for me are interesting. That does add a bit of whimsy. It takes it out of wearability, but I still think that the overall garment is very wearable, so that just drags it up a bit more. I think this should have been top 2 because it was impressive. This is max slay. And then my number 1 is Elektra Vanderheld. Stop this. Cut the cameras. I've chosen my winner for all of Latina Royale. It is Elektra. Pack it up, people. I don't need to see any more. I went into this season saying I'm team Regina, I'm team Matraka, I'm team Abby, I'm team Alexis, and by episode 4, having not even seen her original season, I'm team Elektra. I don't need to see any more. She's been top 2 for me every week of this competition. She's doing it. Flawless so far. From head to toe, this is everything when it comes to a look. We saw quite a bit of this lilac fabric tonight, but I think Elektra had the most interesting use of it. Those perfect darts around the skirt added so much beautiful texture and life to what I think is a pretty dull and boring piece of fabric. I love her sleeve choice and the way that she worked that fabric into something completely new on the breasts. Something that is unrecognizable from the rest of the garment, I think is brilliant. And then those little golden pearls are super freaking cool. She looks like a fantasy character in a video game, like some type of steampunk world. And it's all a bit over stylized with the pearls and the choker situation, but it works. It's cohesive. This garment speaks to me and inspires me. And then the bow in the back, oh, that's phenomenal. And the hat, wonderful. This is a TKO, baby. TKO. Max slay. The judging was a little batty from this point forward, starting with the Save Queens, when I fully believe that Regina should have been the bottom and Horacio should have been in the top. I mentioned last week that I appreciate that Lolita and Tyga are attempting to make this competition seem fair by trying to keep an international queen very consistently in the top 3, but then hating the international queens in the bottom all the time. This week was another fully justified, could have been Team Mexico in top 2, and I would have been fine. I think the world would have been fine. I think Elektra is undeniably killing this season again and again and again. And it makes me excited to see her original season because then I can compare her growth and see where she came from. That's always the most exciting part to me about the Versus the Worlds, is getting to see these queens that maybe came from a franchise that wouldn't have got as many eyeballs on it, had some other hard hitters not also been in the room with them to get international audiences to tune in. I think there's something exciting about that. I know I personally did not put Abby in bottom 2 because I think her garment had more to say than the others that I ranked lower. In this lineup of bottom 3, I was confused why she wasn't bottom 2 because she lost spoons. Things fell off of her. That is a huge fashion faux pas. That is a huge no-no on Drag Race. Do not leave on the ground and don't let your costume fall apart. There have been so many queens that have literally been put in the bottom because something came off and it wasn't supposed to. And so I don't really understand why she wasn't there, especially because this look is not particularly impressive, especially when you stack her up next to Mariana, who had a cooler look overall and had more work done to her garment. But it would not be a season of Latina Royale if Mariana Stars was not in the bottom to be a constant punching bag and to get dunked on by the judges. I do believe that Mariana got to Lolita when she started talking about her upset about not really being able to do anything right, because that immediately reminded Lolita of her time on France 1, where she was constantly being dunked on by that devil bitch Kitty Smile, who did not like her and was constantly negatively critiquing her. I think she remembered what it was like to compete in what felt like an unfair environment, and I think that's ultimately what led her to her decision at the end of the episode. So moving to the lip sync, the story thus far in Latina Royale has very much been international queens versus Team Mexico. And even Alexis brought this up in Untucked, that she's always been in a situation where it's been an us versus them scenario for her on Drag Race, and she thought maybe being in a competition with other Latinos, it wouldn't be that way, but it still was. I have a lot of opinions about this, but I'm not even gonna dip my fingers into the water of the constant Latin to Latin phobia. Anyways, so that's been the story, that it's Team International versus Team Mexico. And so I found it interesting that the lip sync song was a RuPaul song, and I think it was specifically chosen so that Tsunami could win the lip sync. And even with her having the advantage of speaking English, she did not know a lot of those words and was fudging a lot of the lyrics. And I overall was more entertained by what Elektra did in the lip sync. I found her more captivating, I found her more dynamic, I found what she did with the words that she didn't know to be more interesting. And if you don't know the words of a song, fake it till you make it, and I think she did that well. And speaking very critically, Tsunami was the epitome of fine. Like, she wasn't bad, but she was fine. It was pointed out on Twitter, and I noticed before I started recording, that Tsunami was wearing the outfit that she got eliminated on in Drag Race season 16, and I think that's super cool that she turned her lowest moment into her first high moment on Drag Race where she got a win. That's very cool. I don't think she won the lip sync though. She is called as the winner and chose to eliminate Mariana Stars. I think it was time, and Mariana was saying she wants to be there, but also recognizes it doesn't matter if she stays, the judges don't like her. And we've seen this happen a couple times before. This happened on Latina Royale as well, where Bernie was realizing this is not for me, they don't like me. And she didn't specifically say the judges, and Mariana didn't specifically say Lolita and Tyga. She said, they don't like me. And so these parallel lines of queens recognizing that someone externally is not a fan of them informs me even more that this competition is led by the man behind the curtain, not necessarily by Lolita and Tyga, and whoever they are don't want Mariana here. So I retract some of my smoke that I had for them last week, but they're still getting it. And in a shocking twist, Lolita decided to use her lottery card on Mariana. This was such a gag because it seems like they do not enjoy her presence here. They don't want her to be here. They've been trying week after week after week to get her out. And this is where I think it was a major benefit that Christian Peralta was here this week, because she's a professional. She has been a working drag queen for a long time, and I think she understands that if someone like Lolita is recognizing something in a competitor, she's gonna kind of fall in line and say, all right, Lolita wants to do this, so I will do it too. I wouldn't be surprised if they talked about it beforehand. But Christian had a question. Mariana, are you okay with this? Do you want this? If we keep you, do you want a fifth chance here? Is this on your sightlines? And because she said yes, Christian said sure too. That put a little pressure on Tyga, who absolutely could have said, no, we gotta get this bitch out of here. She read my nasty lace today and I'm tired of it. She's probably gonna talk about how my hair's been shaking this whole episode, and I can't have that, so no. But she picked up her card too, and I could not believe it, because they seemed to like taking whacks at her. I can only assume that maybe Tyga thought, well, you know, we'll get another chance to whack at her next week. If we're lucky, maybe we can make it 6. Maybe we can embarrass her next week. She won't go home and we'll embarrass her again the next week. And nobody goes home. Mariana's saved. And it's a double-edged sword. I feel good for her because I'm glad she gets to stick around one more week, but I feel bad because they're gonna keep dunking on her. And next week is Snatch Game, and from the preview, it looks like 4 people are in the bottom. How much longer are we gonna have to endure this boot nasty challenge? Like, when will it get retired and we don't have to see it anymore? Just retire Snatch Game. I would love to see it go away, or at least get dropped into the pool of it could be in a season, like how a ball challenge is, or a makeover, or a third design challenge. I think it could just be a legacy challenge that could show up. But what did y'all think about this week? Let me know in the comments below what you think about the outfits, who had your favorite look, and who do you think should have been top 2. Make sure to check out the Patreon if you would like early access to these videos. Next week is my birthday, so I'm gonna try to do something a little special for that. So keep an eye out. And keep an eye out for my Drag Race Down Under vs. the World review that should be out very soon. Thank you for watching. I'll see y'all on the flip.